Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In a stunning decision, the Supreme Court has struck down President Trump's sweeping global tariffs, ruling he overstepped his executive authority. The ruling instantly throws global markets into turmoil, leaving businesses and governments scrambling to adapt. For nearly a year, Trump's tariffs reshaped supply chains and drove up costs, justified as protecting American jobs, but criticized as reckless. Now, the court's decision is a direct challenge to presidential power, forcing a dramatic recalibration of America's economic relationships. Stock markets worldwide are volatile, importers hope for relief, and domestic industries brace for renewed foreign competition. The focus now shifts to the White House's response, Congress's next move, and the long-term balance of power in Washington. The road to today's Supreme Court ruling began in January 2025, when President Trump, in a move that shocked both allies and adversaries, unleashed a sweeping new wave of tariffs targeting Mexico, Canada, and China. The announcement, made during a tense White House press conference, sent shockwaves through global markets and ignited immediate debate in Washington and beyond. Businesses scrambled to assess the impact, while economists warned of potential disruptions to supply chains and rising consumer prices. The world watched as the United States, long a champion of free trade, suddenly pivoted toward aggressive protectionism. By April, President Trump escalated the situation further by invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, a rarely used law typically reserved for national security threats. This allowed him to justify blanket tariffs on nearly all imports, not just from rival nations, but from close trading partners as well. Legal experts and constitutional scholars were stunned, calling the move unprecedented and warning it could set a dangerous precedent for executive power. The administration argued it was necessary to protect American jobs and industries, but critics saw it as a vast overreach. Almost immediately, lawsuits flooded the federal courts. Major business groups, foreign governments, and civil liberties organizations joined forces to challenge the tariffs, arguing that the president had exceeded his legal authority. In May, after weeks of heated arguments and public protests outside courthouses, a federal panel delivered a landmark ruling. The tariffs were invalid, and Trump's use of EPA was an overreach of executive power. The Trump administration, refusing to back down, immediately appealed the decision. The legal battle intensified over the summer, drawing national attention. In August, a federal appellate court upheld the lower court's ruling, stating unequivocally that the tariffs far exceeded presidential authority and violated the separation of powers. The decision was hailed by some as a victory for the rule of law, while others warned it could weaken America's negotiating position abroad. Despite these legal defeats, President Trump remained defiant. He insisted the tariffs would stay in place, vowing to take the fight all the way to the Supreme Court. Inside the White House, his legal team worked around the clock preparing for what would become one of the most consequential legal battles of his presidency. The nation braced for a showdown at the highest court in the land. Meanwhile, the world was not standing still. America's trading partners, angered by the sweeping tariffs, retaliated with their own measures. New tariffs were imposed on American goods, from agricultural products to automobiles, fracturing the global trading system and sparking fears of a prolonged trade war. International markets grew increasingly volatile, and diplomatic relations became strained as countries scrambled to protect their own economies. As the legal and economic battles raged on, all eyes turned to the Supreme Court. The justices prepared to hear arguments in a case that would not only determine the fate of Trump's tariffs, but also set a precedent for presidential power in times of crisis. The stage was set for a final, dramatic legal showdown, one that would shape the future of American trade policy for years to come. At the center of the case was the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a 1977 law meant for targeted sanctions, not sweeping tariffs. Trump's use of IEEPA to impose global tariffs was unprecedented, sparking a challenge based on the Major Questions Doctrine. This doctrine requires clear, congressional authorization for actions of vast economic significance. The Supreme Court ruled that Congress never gave the president such sweeping tariff powers under IEEPA. The decision extends a recent trend of curbing executive power, even against a president from the court's own party. The majority, joining liberals and key conservatives, reasserted Congress's primacy in major economic decisions. President Trump erupted on social media, calling the ruling a betrayal and blaming even his own appointees. But the White House was ready, rolling out new tariffs under different laws, Section 232 for national security and Section 301 for unfair trade. Steel, aluminum, lumber, and more were hit with fresh duties, and Trump threatened a 100% tariff on imported semiconductors. This patchwork approach aims to keep protectionist measures alive, despite the Supreme Court's rebuke. Businesses now face a new wave of confusion and disruption as the administration scrambles to rebuild its tariff wall. The legal and economic chaos is far from over. The fight has simply shifted to new battlegrounds. The Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves through global markets, triggering volatility and uncertainty. For import-dependent American industries, the ruling offers hope for relief, but new tariffs mean the pressure hasn't eased. Many companies are stuck in limbo, unsure how to manage orders or supply chains. Domestic industries that benefited from tariffs now fear a flood of cheaper imports. Overseas, manufacturers in China and Europe brace for more targeted tariffs, while countries like Brazil and India reassess their strategies. The sudden policy shift has left winners and losers in every sector, with instability rippling across the globe. The economic fallout is likely to persist for months, if not years. Across boardrooms and factory floors, business leaders are expressing mounting frustration, feeling trapped between the sudden disappearance of long-standing tariffs and the looming threat of new, unpredictable ones. The uncertainty is palpable, and many executives say they're struggling to make sense of the rapidly shifting landscape. For years, they've built strategies around established trade rules, but now, those foundations have been swept away almost overnight. Mary Anderson, a manufacturing CEO, puts it bluntly, "We're not operating in a market, we're in political chaos." She explains that every decision, from hiring to sourcing materials, is now shadowed by uncertainty. "We can't plan for the future when the rules keep changing," she adds, her voice echoing the concerns of countless business owners across the country. On the ground, the impact is just as severe. Factory workers and dock workers, who once felt secure in their jobs, now face the very real threat of layoffs and reduced hours. Many are anxious, unsure if their next paycheck will come, or if their skills will still be needed in a few months. Meanwhile, some steel producers are watching their competitive edge slip away as new tariffs disrupt established supply chains. John Miller, who owns a small steel plant, voices his frustration. "The Supreme Court just pulled the rug out from under us." He describes how years of investment and planning have been upended, leaving his business and his workers facing an uncertain future. Legal experts are now scrambling to advise their clients as the regulatory environment changes almost daily. With IEEPA tariffs suddenly gone, but new Section 232 and 301 tariffs quickly taking their place, companies are left trying to interpret what these changes mean for their operations, contracts, and bottom lines. The result is a frantic scramble across industries. Businesses are urgently auditing their supply chains, reviewing contracts, and trying to adapt to a new set of rules that seem to shift with every headline. Warehouse workers and managers alike are double-checking inventories, bracing for shortages or sudden surpluses. For many, the crisis hasn't ended, it's simply changed form. The anxiety and confusion remain, but now they're accompanied by a sense of exhaustion as everyone tries to keep up with the relentless pace of change. The deep divisions in the economy are now sharper than ever, with some industries struggling to survive, while others adapt and even thrive. As the dust settles, it's clear that the fallout from these changes will be felt for months, if not years to come. The Supreme Court's decision reverberates through global diplomacy. Allies in Europe and Asia see it as a win for checks and balances, but worry Trump's unpredictability will only increase. The threat of new national security tariffs on cars and electronics looms large. China views the ruling as an internal U.S. matter, but expects the trade war to continue under different legal grounds. The world is left hedging against American unpredictability, seeking new trade partners and alliances. The ruling alters the legal battlefield, but not the underlying economic conflict. Instability and mistrust in U.S. leadership are only deepening. Experts warn that the Supreme Court's ruling is no return to free trade. Many tariffs remain under other statutes, and the trade war has simply shifted legal forms. The court's decision is hailed as a reassertion of congressional power, but may provoke future presidents to exploit other laws. Economists predict prolonged volatility, with businesses hesitant to invest amid constant policy shifts. Politically, Trump is likely to use the ruling to rally his base, framing himself as a defender against activist judges and globalists. The national debate on trade is set to become even more polarized. The uncertainty is now as much political as it is economic. The Supreme Court's decision leaves America's trade future uncertain and chaotic. With the legal landscape now dramatically altered, policymakers and businesses alike are left scrambling to understand what the new rules will mean for the economy. The sense of unpredictability is palpable, as the nation stands at a crossroads, unsure of which direction its trade policy will take. The Trump administration is doubling down on alternative tariffs, ensuring more legal battles ahead. These aggressive moves are not just about economics, they're about power, leverage, and the ability to shape global relationships. As new tariffs are proposed and old ones are challenged, the courts are likely to become a battleground for competing visions of America's role in the world economy. Congress now faces pressure to reclaim its authority and craft a modern trade policy. Lawmakers are being called upon to rise above partisan divides and address the complex realities of today's interconnected markets. The stakes are high, and the decisions made in these chambers will have ripple effects far beyond Washington. The question: can lawmakers overcome gridlock to create a balanced framework, or will the president continue to exploit loopholes? The tension between the executive and legislative branches has never been more apparent, and the outcome will determine whether America's trade policy is shaped by consensus or by executive action. For workers, businesses, and consumers, the consequences are real and immediate. Every tariff, every policy shift, is felt on the factory floor, in the boardroom, and at the checkout counter. Families worry about rising prices, while small businesses struggle to adapt to new regulations and global competition. The events of 2025 highlight the fragility of global integration and the power of Washington's decisions. As markets react and international partners reassess their strategies, the world is reminded that America's choices reverberate across continents, affecting supply chains, investments, and diplomatic ties. This is not the end, but a pivotal chapter in America's evolving role in the world. The nation's history is filled with moments of upheaval and transformation, and today's challenges are an opportunity to redefine what leadership means in a rapidly changing global landscape. The choices made now will shape the global economic order for years to come. As leaders gather at international summits and experts debate the future, one thing is clear: America's next steps will not only determine its own prosperity, but also influence the direction of the world economy for a generation.